Very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. Well, it is the last day of the first part of the budget session of Parliament. All news from Parliament coming up and much more in the next 30 minutes. Let us start with the headlines. Supreme Court says it will treat the Ayodhya dispute only as a land dispute case. During hearing on the issue on a Thursday, says it will first hear those who are parties to the dispute in Allahabad High Court. Rajya Sabha sits 4 hours more last night till 10 p.m. to debate the union budget. Congress leader P. Chidambaram poses 12 questions on economic and fiscal management. BJP's Bhupendra Yadav says government's policies are designed to benefit all vulnerable sections. Finance Minister Arun Jaitley to reply today. Finance Minister says structural reforms may pose difficulty initially but will benefit in the long run. In reply to debate on the union budget in Lok Sabha, says the world did not recognize India as the fastest growing economy during UPA's time. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to begin a 4-day visit to Palestine, UAE and Oman today. First Indian Prime Minister to visit Palestine and Oman. Ahead of the visit, Prime Minister says Gulf and West Asia are key for India's foreign policy. And first, Khelo India School Games conclude. Haryana steals the march from Maharashtra to top the medals tally with 38 gold. Opening ceremony of the 18-day Winter Olympic Games today in South Korea's Pyeongchang. 2-member Indian contingent at the Games. First up, news from Parliament. Today is the last day of the first part of the budget session, and on Thursday, the Rajya Sabha sat till nearly 10 p.m. to debate the Union Budget 2018-19. The discussion was initiated by Congress member P. Chidambaram, and members across political spectrum participated in the discussion. Here are all the details.
Initiating the discussion, Congress leader P. Chidambaram posed 12 questions on the union budget presented by the NDA government. He accused the government of abandoning fiscal prudence.
In 2016-17, when India's GDP, according to your number, has fallen to 7.1%, the increase in number is 75 lakhs. Worse, for 2017-18, when you admit India's GDP is falling further to 6.5%, you are claiming 70 lakh jobs have been created. This must be the only country in the world where GDP falls but employment increases.
Delivering a sharp rebuttal, BJP's Bhupendra Yadav said there was policy paralysis during the UPA rule and accused the Congress of misusing constitutional institutions. He also said the NDA government has plugged leakages in the delivery of subsidies and is removing corruption.
जब भी आप अपनी कोई योजना बनाओ तो अपने मन में सबसे अंतिम छोर पर बैठे हुए व्यक्ति के चित्र का ध्यान करना, वो योजना बनाना। और मैं गर्व के साथ कह सकता हूं, प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में जो भी योजना हमारी सरकार की बनी है, वो हमेशा देश के गरीब आदमी के चेहरे को देखकर ध्यान में रखी है। आप उस पर किसी प्रकार की टीका टिप्पणी कर सकते हैं, लेकिन देश के गरीब का आर्थिक सशक्तिकरण और देश के हर वर्ग का सामाजिक समायोजन करने के लिए जो हमारी सरकार प्रतिबद्ध है, आप उसको रोक नहीं सकते।
The Finance Minister is slated to give a detailed reply on the discussion on Friday. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And during the discussion, other members, including members from the Samajwadi Party, CPIM, BSP and Trinamool Congress, also questioned the government on several issues.
चाहे विदर्भ हो चाहे बुंदेलखंड हो, बुंदेलखंड के हमारे हालात देखिए जाकर माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी। आज वहां का किसान तबाह है, मर रहा है। वहां फसल सूख गई है, वर्षा आधारित खेती है। वहां के लोग पलायन कर रहे हैं, रोजगार के लिए बाहर पलायन कर रहे हैं। आज किसी को उपज का जो उनकी लागत मूल्य नहीं है, घाटे की खेती का आत्महत्या हो रही मानव।
The government of India had reduced its share of the centrally sponsored schemes from 75% to 60%. This was done by the government of India unilaterally on the pretext that states had obtained additional fiscal space due to the increase in the devolutions to states from 32 to 42%. Unfortunately, states like Tamil Nadu have suffered badly due to the Finance Commission's recommendations.
Finance Minister, mission is strengthen agriculture, Kisans, health, education, employment, MSME and infrastructure. Where is the money? Where from it will come? From the sky or from other countries at donation? It is not reflected properly. It is not explained.
14th फाइनेंस कमीशन की सिफारिश के आधार पर सेंट्रल टैक्सेस में राज्यों के शेयर 32% से बढ़ाकर 42% किया गया है। ये अच्छी बात है, लेकिन इसके बाद कई सारे सेंट्रल स्कीम का जो शेयरिंग पैटर्न भी बदल दिया गया है, जिससे राज्यों को काफ़ी दिक्कत आ रही है, राज्यों को काफ़ी बोझ पड़ रहा है।
2014 में सत्ता में आने के बाद इस सरकार ने पहली बार ब्लैक मनी के खिलाफ बैंक लुटेरे सफेद पोशों के खिलाफ ठोस कार्रवाई की। 8 ठोस कदम उठाए। समय होता तो मैं आपको सुनाता, कानून बनाने से लेकर नीति बनाने तक। 1970 के बाद बनी 40 कमेटियों को रिपोर्ट के बाद जो सफाई नहीं हुई, उसकी शुरुआत हुई है।
Rural development as a percentage of GDP is reduced from 1.15% to 1.08%. Health expenditure has fallen from 0.32% to 0.29%. Central expenditure on education, again, one priority area spoken in your budget speech. Education has fallen from 0.49% to 0.29%.
किसानों की यही स्थिति है कि उसके फसल का समर्थन मूल्य भी नहीं मिल रहा है। उसका कर्ज जो माफ करने की बात चल रही थी वो माफ भी नहीं हुआ।
Over the last 4 years, GDP has grown, per capita income has increased, FDI flows over the last 3 years have steadily increased, with 2016-17 recording 60 billion, foreign exchange reserves have crossed 400 billion, inflation has moderated, and government finances are following a roadmap of fiscal discipline after years of reckless profligacy.
I'm glad this finance minister has woken up to the MSP reality and has abandoned the theology that higher MSP means higher inflation. Higher MSP leads to rural prosperity. Of course, you have to assure that the MSP is actually received by all the farmers. Announcing MSP is one thing, and farmers getting MSP is another.
देश के एग्रीकल्चर से इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर तक पूरा ध्यान दिया गया है। अगर बजट में गरीब और मध्यम वर्ग की चिंता दूर करने वाली बातें हैं तो और उनके हेल्थ के लिए बातें हैं तो छोटे उद्यमियों के लिए वेल्थ बढ़ाने वाली योजनाएं भी हैं।
And in Lok Sabha on a Thursday, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley gave a reply on the Union Budget 2018-19. He said that India is the fastest growing economy in the world. There was a decline in the growth rate after the implementation of GST, but then there has been a slow improvement since then. Now, targeting the previous UPA regime, Jaitley asserted that nobody said during the UPA's rule that India was the fastest growing economy in the world.
During the UPA, nobody spoke in terms of an Indian economy being the bright spot in the global economic picture.
Sir, economic advisor praised it.
Nobody really mentioned that India, comparatively to the rest of the countries in the world, was the fastest growing. It's only happened now.
And other Lok Sabha members also participated in the general discussion on Union Budget 2018-19 on Thursday. Let's listen in to what some of the key speakers had to say.
This year, according to the economic survey, which will further put pressure on headline inflation. So again, when we talk about the economic survey, there is nothing common with this budget and economic survey. The budget comes out of, again, I hate to use the word, but I have to, only jumlas, nothing else.
Additional fiscal space due to the increase in the devolution of funds to the states from 32% to 42% following the 14th Finance Commission recommendation. Unfortunately, Tamil Nadu had lost out badly due to the reduction of horizontal devolutionary share from 4.969% to 4.023%. Consequently, the overall devolution to the state of Tamil Nadu has shrunk and impaired the ability of the state government to finance its own program. I request the Union Finance Minister to provide a special ad hoc grant to our state by ways of special compensation to ensure equity in central allocation.
इस देश के 125 करोड़ लोगों की सुनहरे भविष्य की कल्पना को साकार करने वाला बजट है। महोदय, ये बजट इस देश के गरीबों को सामाजिक और आर्थिक सुरक्षा देने वाला बजट है। महोदय, ये बजट इस देश के दीन दुखियों की चिंता को दूर करने वाला बजट है। महोदय, ये बजट महिलाओं को सम्मान और शक्ति प्रदान करने वाला बजट है।
महोदय, ये बजट किसान विरोधी, नौजवान विरोधी है, गांव ग्रामीण विरोधी है, मध्यम वर्ग विरोधी, यहाँ तक कि जो एनडीए के घटक दल हैं जो 4 साल से इस बात का इंतजार कर रहे थे उनके स्पेशल पैकेज मिलेगा। आज हमारे टीडीपी के साथी और आंध्रा के साथी लगातार 4 दिन से लगातार वेल में खड़े होकर प्रदर्शन कर रहे हैं और सरकार से मांग कर रहे हैं, उनको भी अभी तक मांग पूरी नहीं हुई है। तो मैं समझता हूँ ये बजट जो है पूरी तरह से किसान विरोधी और नौजवान विरोधी है।
And speaking in the Lok Sabha, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley also hit back at the Congress over the Rafale deal, accusing it of seriously compromising the country's security by seeking the details of the mega defence deal.
That these security pacts are an inherent part of these defence transactions, because when you disclose the details of that price, you can give an approximate price, but when you give the specific details, you are giving details of the weapon systems that you possess and the capacity of those weapon systems which you don't want to inform the enemy.
And MPs from TDP and YSR Congress on a Thursday continued their separate protests in Parliament House over their demand for special status to Andhra Pradesh and other financial benefits to the state. Meanwhile, the opposition parties in Andhra Pradesh also called for a day-long bandh to press for their demands. Here is a report.
Rajya Sabha on Thursday witnessed protests over the issue of special status to Andhra Pradesh. Cutting across party lines, members from Andhra Pradesh and Telangana raised the issue of the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act and demanded a solution to the crisis. Union Minister and TDP leader Y.S. Chaudhary demanded that Finance Minister Arun Jaitley address this concern in his reply to the budget speech. He alleged that the state was divided unscientifically and during the last 3.5 years, certain schemes could not be implemented.
If government is willing, there are some issues of special category status, bridging of the resource gap, capital development, all these things are the steel plant. If they can commit, that the finance minister while addressing the budget speech, they can commit to resolve these issues within 15 days, sir.
So, if they are not adhered to, if they are not followed, and if this house is incapable of protecting the rights of our own words, acts, sir, what for this constitution has constituted this house?
Lok Sabha also witnessed brief adjournments due to protests by the TDP and YSR Congress. As soon as the House met for the day, members of both the parties trooped into the well of the House, shouting slogans in support of their demands. The members continued their protest outside the Parliament.
जो बाइफर्केशन एक्ट में एक हिस्सा है उसको कब पूरा करेंगे? 3.5 साल से एक मित्र पक्ष के नाते, एक धर्म के नाते हमने उनके साथ निभाया है और हर चीज़ में हमने उनको सपोर्ट किया है, पर आंध्र से एक भी चीज़ में उन्होंने फुल फ्लेजेडली सपोर्ट नहीं किया.
At the time of division of the state, they have promised many things in State Reorganization Act, like special status, completion of Polvaram project. Not even single major thing they have not yet completed till.
Meanwhile, opposition parties in Andhra Pradesh called for a day-long bandh to protest the failure of the centre to implement the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act 2014. State-run bus services were suspended and educational institutions remained shut. The ruling Telugu Desam party also organised parallel rallies across the state in solidarity with its MPs to secure the state's rights. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in the Lok Sabha, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley assured the members from Andhra Pradesh that the centre is looking at all issues concerning the state sympathetically, and some decision on a special package and revenue deficit will be worked out in the next couple of days.
The state had wanted that money to come by way of externally aided projects. We have worked out an arrangement yesterday in the meeting, which officers of the state have gone back to take a confirmation whether the arrangement they have come to yesterday with the expenditure department is acceptable to the state or not. That meeting was held yesterday itself. As far as revenue deficit is concerned, there is another proposal which has been made. The state officers have again gone back. They are expecting something more. We are trying to narrow that gap and bridge that gap.
On to some other news now. The Supreme Court has said that the Ayodhya dispute case was purely a land dispute and will be dealt with in normal course. During hearing in the case on Thursday, the Apex Court clarified that it was first inclined to hear those who were parties to the dispute in the Allahabad High Court. A special bench headed by Chief Justice Deepak Mishra was hearing the civil appeals arising out of a 2010 verdict of the Lucknow bench of the Allahabad High Court. The High Court had ordered that the disputed land be partitioned equally among the three parties, the Sunni Waqf Board, the Nirmohi Akhara and Ram Lalla. The bench also asked the original parties for the title suits to file within 2 weeks the English translations of the documents, exhibits and excerpts from vernacular books which have been used in the High Court. It also expressed its reservation on hearing the matter on day-to-day basis and said that once the matter will start, it will go in a normal course. On to our other top story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will embark on a 4-day visit to Palestine, the UAE and Oman today. Ahead of the visit, the Prime Minister said that Gulf and West Asia are key for India's foreign policy. India and Palestine are set to create a new milestone in bilateral relations as Prime Minister Modi becomes the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Palestine on Saturday. This will not only strengthen a new strategic vision of India, but also renew Indian bonhomie with most of the Arabian and Gulf nations. RSTV's Akhilesh Suman brings us a report on what all to expect.
Prime Minister Modi will reach Ramallah on the 10th of February. After official meetings with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, both sides are expected to sign a host of agreements relating to cooperation in infrastructure and IT, among others. Prime Minister Modi will also inaugurate an Information and Communication Technologies or ICT park and hand over a diplomat training institute built by India for Palestinians. Before the formal talks though, Prime Minister Modi will visit a museum dedicated to Yasser Arafat, the founder of the Palestinian movement and one of India's strongest supporters.
One of the signature projects of his visit is the building of ICT Park, India-Palestine ICT Park in Palestine, which has been under construction. That will create large-scale employment and also connect Palestinian IT industry with the Indian IT industry. Then after that, for the Palestinian cause, we have taken significant steps. Apart from our regular support at various international fora, you are aware that in December 2017 we have voted in favor of a very, very important resolution on Jerusalem, and then before that we also contributed for the accession of Palestine into Interpol.
Prime Minister Modi is expected to assure the Palestinian leadership about India's continuous support to their cause and talk of efforts to settle the Israel-Palestine conflict. Palestine is an old strategic ally of India in the Gulf and West Asian region.
This visit is part of that enhanced engagement, as JSXP mentioned, that also to secure our interest both from the domestic perspective and also international perspective. We have also important engagement to Palestinian side on the security area.
India's expanding ties with Israel have added a new dimension to the India-Palestine relationship. India had also supported a UN resolution denouncing the US decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. The standalone visit to Palestine also signals the government's stated policy of de-hyphenating ties with Israel and Palestine.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Palestine is an important diplomatic step of India. It also shows India's independent foreign policy in the time when world politics is getting polarized. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person Kawaljit in Delhi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Palestine on February 10. This is the first ever visit of any Indian Prime Minister to the Palestinian land.
The relationship between India and Palestine is built on the foundation of long-standing solidarity and friendship.
How will this visit strengthen ties? I, Akhilesh Suman, will travel to Palestine to bring you all the reports, in-depth analysis and major takeaways. Watch Rajya Sabha TV for our coverage of Prime Minister's visit to Palestine.
Let's get you some other news now. Cholo Paltai, which means let's change, was the call Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave to voters in Tripura. Addressing two rallies in Sonamura and Kailashahar on Thursday, the Prime Minister asked people why they do not earn minimum wages under the left government that has been in power in Tripura for last 25 years.
Ahead of the State Assembly elections on February 18th, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed two rallies at Sonamura in West Tripura and Kailashahar in North Tripura. Criticizing the Manik Sarkar government, the Prime Minister said indifference of the state government is responsible for the low wages of its people.
देश में और लोगों को जो मिनिमम वेजेज मिलता है वो त्रिपुरा के लोगों को मिलना चाहिए कि नहीं मिलना चाहिए। 25 साल से बैठे हुए हैं लेकिन यहाँ के नागरिकों के एक भी मान्य अधिकार को स्वीकार करने के लिए तैयार नहीं।
The Prime Minister said the government is focusing on 3 T's for Tripura: trade, tourism, training of the youth. He coined a new acronym HERA, which means highway, I-way, roadway and airway.
और त्रिपुरा में आप भाजपा की सरकार बनाएंगे तो त्रिपुरा को आगे ले जाने के लिए 2 इंजन लगेंगे कि नहीं लगेंगे? एक त्रिपुरा का इंजन और एक दिल्ली का इंजन। त्रिपुरा तेज गति से आगे बढ़ेगा कि नहीं बढ़ेगा? ये चुनाव त्रिपुरा के नौजवानों का भविष्य क्या होगा उसका फैसला करने के लिए चुनाव।
Besides the Prime Minister, many other top BJP leaders, including Party President Amit Shah and Union Minister Rajnath Singh, have visited the state for campaigning. The BJP has formed an alliance with Indigenous People's Front of Tripura, under which the BJP filed nominations in 51 seats out of the total 60 seats, leaving the rest to IPFT. Prime Minister Modi will again visit the state on February 15th and address a public meeting in Agartala. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And the nomination papers of 377 candidates have been cleared after scrutiny for the 27th of February Assembly elections in Meghalaya. The scrutiny of nomination papers of a total of 443 candidates who filed their papers for the elections was held on Thursday, in which 377 candidates were found eligible. Of these, 344 are male candidates and 33 female candidates are contesting for the 60 seats. Meanwhile, in Nagaland, 227 nominations filed out of the 257 for the 27th of February Assembly polls have been found to be valid. Scrutiny of nomination papers of 257 candidates, including 5 women from 9 political parties and independents, was carried out on Thursday. The last date for the withdrawal of nominations in both the states is 12th of February. And UP Chairperson Sonia Gandhi, former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh and Congress leader Shashi Tharoor will be among 40 star campaigners of the ruling Congress in poll-bound Meghalaya. The party's national president Rahul Gandhi, who officially sounded the poll bugle last month with a rock concert, will also be returning to the state for campaigning. Meghalaya is set to go to polls on 27th of February and the results will be announced on 3rd of March. The tenure of the current 60-member assembly ends on 6th of March. And the first Khelo India School Games, which are a part of the Khelo India program, concluded in New Delhi on Thursday. The Haryana team topped the overall medal tally with 38 gold medals, 26 silver medals and 38 bronze medals. Second with 36 gold, 32 silver and 43 bronze medals. Delhi ranked third with 25 gold, 29 silver and 40 bronze medals. Union Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports Rajya Singh Rathore hailed the inaugural edition of the Khelo India School Games, saying that it was as grand as any international event. In a series of tweets, the Union Minister said, and I quote him now, "The first edition of Khelo India could not have been possible without the help of people who have worked 24/7 to ensure the smooth organization of the Games." He also expressed gratefulness to Prime Minister Narendra Modi for inspiring Khelo India School Games. The Union Minister also added that the Games might have come to an end, but the journey has just begun. And the Winter Olympic Games will kick off in South Korea's Pyeongchang today. However, the first mixed doubles curling event began on Thursday to open the competition. In the doubles, Switzerland defeated China and held a 5-4 lead, while in the other match, Canada beat the United States. While the Indian flag was also raised at the Games village, Lyuga Shiva Keshavan, India's contingent chef de mission Harjinder Singh and the mayor of the Games village were present during the brief ceremony. The four heats of men's single event in which Keshavan will participate will take place on 10th and 11th of February. Well, this is the first time that South Korea is hoisting the Winter Olympics, and North and South Korean athletes will march out under a united flag at the opening ceremony today, which will be the fourth time in the two nations' history. North Korea's ceremonial head of state Kim Jong-nam will attend the opening ceremony. North Korea has nominated 22 athletes to compete in 3 sports. The tournament will conclude on 25th of February. And that's it from me and the entire Breakfast News team at the moment. But news and updates continue on your channel. Thanks so much for watching.